morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again. I'm back after a long hiatus, but I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations, and it really doesn't get much more beautiful than today. It is absolutely stunning out here on the beach in Suffolk, so welcome along. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing. If it's your returning subscriber, or 1,223 of you today, I think there is, welcome back. Thank you one and all for joining me. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. So I'm entitling this video today, "The Enemy of My Enemy is My Friend." And it's I've been wanting to do this for about 2 or 3 weeks, but I've been so crazy busy that I haven't had a chance to do anything. I haven't had a chance to scratch my butt, so I might have to hire a professional butt scratcher just to help me out here. So what do I mean by the enemy of my enemy is my friend? We're going to be breaking that down today. There's a few different connotations I have to link this to, and let's see if you agree or if you disagree. If you disagree or if you agree, it doesn't matter. That's what the comment section's for. Agree, disagree. I want to hear what you have to say, or I want to see what you have to say anyway. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, with events that are taking place in the world, we are increasingly being told things that aren't true. Okay? So when I say my enemy, I'm not talking about someone that I want to hurt or someone that, well, maybe some people need some hurting, but I'm not going to do that. That's not my place to go and hurt people. I'm not advocating for violence, by the way. But when I talk about the enemy, who am I referring to, or what am I referring to? So I'll break that down. We'll go step by step through this. And if you want to add to the list, then please do. But let's start with the biggest enemy to all of us. Every single one of us. The biggest enemy in the whole world. It's not money, although, you know, that's what the people say, you know, that misquoted quote of the money is the root of all evil. It's not. That's a misquote, by the way. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the creation of money. The creation of money and how money is created, or money. We're not even going to call it money because it's not really money, is it? It's fiat currency, which is paper. It's nothing. It's worth nothing. It does nothing. It's a belief system that we all have in this piece of paper, and in these governments. We're going to get to the government soon, don't worry. But this belief system we have in a piece of paper that's actually worth something because it has that number printed on it. It's worthless. And as the days go by, it's becoming increasingly apparent that it's worthless. Go to the shop. Does £20 or $20 buy you what it used to? Of course it doesn't, because it's being inflated into infinity and beyond. So the creation of money and the central banking institutions of the world are the biggest enemy of everybody here in the whole world, in this reality that we experience, this reality. The biggest problem that we have, the biggest enemy that we all have, is central banking. Now, I've been through it so many times about why it's so bad, but if you have a privately owned institution that controls the money, and everything revolves around money in the world, if they control the money, they control you. You're a debt slave. From the moment that money is created, that's inverted commas because I can only use one hand, from the moment that money is created and brought into existence, it is a debt instrument. It's created out of nothing. Okay, it costs virtually nothing to create, and in some cases it costs nothing to create except maybe a few button pushes on the computer, which is creating money. I'll give you the briefest breakdown that I possibly can for those who haven't heard me explain this before. There's a couple of different ways that money is created. Okay, we have the central banking institutions that have the power and the legal right to print money. Okay, now it's not backed by anything. I mean, the American dollar, which is the world reserve currency, is supposed to be linked to petrol because oil was agreed in '74, I think. Kissinger went over to Saudi Arabia and agreed that America would protect Saudi Arabia militarily as long as Saudi Arabia agreed to only sell oil in American dollars. So it became the petrodollar, so it was backed by oil. But a couple of years ago, we saw that the oil went to minus $40 a barrel. So what does that mean? The American dollar's worth. zero, or less than zero. But anyway, so basically they create the money out of nothing. They print it, whatever the printing costs are, and then they then lend it with interest attached to the government. Now the only way the government can pay that back is by taxing us to pay back the interest only on that loan. Don't pay back the principal. Now what happens when they've been inflating the money supply crazy like they have been, putting that money into the economy, it's all worked out so that it's, because we had a world shutdown for a couple of years, you had less products for consumers to buy, and so much money in the system that because you've got all this money in the system, frothy money supply, that the price of everything goes up because you've got less products available. So you've got lots of money available, less products, which means the price of each product has to go up. Does that make sense? The devaluing of the currency is inflation. So the creation of money is the biggest issue we have, how money is created. The second influence, the second way that money is created is with high street banks. If you go for a loan, from a bank for a car or a house or whatever you're getting a loan for, they press some keys on a keyboard and they send that money again, to your accounts. It's just some digits on a screen. It's not real, it's nothing. And that's based on fractional reserve banking, okay, which is fraud. So fractional reserve banking in a nutshell is, let's just say you have, if you're in the UK, you have £1 million in the bank. Okay. Let's just say, because I'm in the UK, we use Barclays Bank. So Barclays, all the customers deposit their money into the bank, okay? It's no longer the customer's money, it shows up in the bank's balance sheet. So it's now their asset, okay? They can then lend that out to people with interest attached, okay? So they lend it, they don't have it in the first place, but they can lend up to 90% of that money that's deposited in their bank for safekeeping, okay? Safekeeping, right? Bollocks. All right, so 90% they can lend out. So of that £1 million, they can lend out 900,000. Now, because those loans show up on the books as assets for the bank, because those loans are going to be paid back, so that's now an asset showing up on the bank's books, £900,000. You know what they can do with that? They can lend out 90% of that. Yeah, fractional reserve banking. So they're supposed to have 10% of all the money that's deposited in the customer's accounts in their bank. It shows up on their balance sheet. It's not your money anymore. Once it's deposited in their bank, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So the bank can keep on lending money out in perpetuity into infinity and beyond. So the creation of money is creating money from nothing. That's why when they say, okay, we're going to increase interest rates, which means it cuts down borrowing, which means there's less money being brought into the system, which is supposed to bring down inflation. That won't work now because there's so much debt that's created. As soon as they raise the interest rates, everything falls apart because no one can afford to pay the debt anymore, including the government. Which means what? Taxes have to go up. Okay, so don't worry about the fuel price and everything because of Russia. Right, so knowing that is our biggest enemy, let's pivot over the water, over the land masses, over to Russia and Ukraine. Now, why am I pivoting there when I was just talking about banks, right? Strange pivot, right? Okay, now what has happened since all this nonsense has started, this special operation? Because it's not really a war, is it? Is it? Well, all the other countries want to start a bigger war because they need an excuse for why the financial system is about to collapse. And they don't want to wear it. Our illustrious Prime Minister here, Boris Johnson, piece of shit scumbag, we're going to come back to the government, I promise you. But he's just stood down. Why? Because he doesn't want to wear the collapse when it happens. Anyway, we'll get back to the government. So let's get back to Russia. Okay. Now, in light of what's happened in this special operation that's happening in Ukraine, okay, Russia, because they said to Europe, right, if you want our goods, you have to pay us, not in American dollars, because we don't want American dollars, we want to be paid in our local currency in the ruble, okay, or in gold, okay? So you know, all the countries that bought oil and gas and the other things from Russia, wheat and whatever else, you have to now pay us in our local currency, which I think is fair. Because if you're going to do business internationally, you should be able to get paid in your own local currency, because why would you trust another country's currency, especially the American dollar, when they're spending billions and billions and billions, they're printing money out of their ass and then sending that into Ukraine. 60 billion so far America has sent over to Ukraine. 60 billion. Where's that coming from? Anybody? Anybody at all? Okay. So they've said, right, we want to be paid in our local currency, rubles, or in gold. So they basically they backed the ruble by gold. So they said that every gram of gold is worth 5,000 rubles. Okay? Now, since all this began, there's all these sanctions and all this kind of nonsense is going on. So initially when this started, the ruble fell against the American dollar. Of course it did. But now it's climbing, and it's backed by gold. Now, you need to understand the bigger picture of what that means, okay? At the moment, the world reserve currency, which is the American dollar, which has been printed, you know, the printing press goes, you know, it's infinite amounts of money. Cash, fiat, whatever you want to call it, it's not really money. And there's nothing behind it. So it's all just a big Ponzi scheme that could fall over at any moment. Like literally any moment, the trust in that Ponzi scheme could fall over and the whole thing could go pop and it's all done, okay? Now, what Russia's done and what China's doing is they're saying to the central banks, and they're going to back their currencies by gold. Now, who would want to do business in American dollars when American dollars are essentially backed by nothing? It's worthless. A promise of who? Joe Biden? Joe Biden doesn't know what day it is, okay? And you're going to go on a promise from that guy who contradicts himself every 10 minutes. And his vice president, Kamala Deep Throat Harris, she's as useless as a hatful of assholes, personally, I think. This is all my opinion, by the way. Okay, my opinion. So, are you going to trust something that has been trusted for 5,000 years, gold, as a backing of a currency? Or are you going to trust the word of a dementia-ridden potato like Joe Biden that is as useless as his vice president? Which are you going to trust? Now, once a country does say, that's it, we're backing our currency by gold, no one is going to want to deal with any other currency unless they back it by gold. So, while I'm not a Putin apologist and I don't agree with everything Putin does and I don't agree with everything that he said and has done in his past, what he is doing is fighting against the central banks by bringing us to a point where a country is about to launch a gold-backed currency between Russia and China. And whilst I don't agree with most of what China does, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, remember? That comes from Sun Tzu, by the way, the art of war. Now, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, if the Russians and the Chinese are going up against the central banks, which are based out of the US, of course, because it's those pesky, you know, central bankers, you know the names, JP Morgan, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the usual criminal syndicate that we refer to in most of my videos. They're the ones that run the central banks of the world. Okay? Now, if Russia and China are going against them, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, Russia and China, I'm now aligned. We now have an alliance. We are aligned in the same thinking on this one issue, which is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We need to get rid of the central banks of the world. How do we do that? By backing currencies by gold. They lose all power, they lose all control, because they can only print so much money with how much gold they hold. Okay, so there's one. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's move on. Governments. Centralized governance. Now, we've been through this a few times before. I'm going to touch on it again. If you haven't seen my videos about centralization, go back and have a look at, I think it was my last one, or the one before that, where I was talking about Brexit and the strangest day of my life, which was about a mouse, strangely. Go and have a look at that video because it explains a bit better why centralization of governance is not good. Okay? It's not representative of the people that live in different areas of the country or the world when you have a worldwide government, which is what they're trying to do through the United Nations or UN. So governments of the world, I don't know whether you've noticed over the past couple of years, they've become increasingly tyrannical and so far left, and all saying the same thing, all singing from the same song sheet, regardless of the country that they're in. And I'll give you the example of the 3 words that outlines the tyrannical leaders of this world. Okay, you ready? Any government official of any country, anywhere in the world, if they say these 3 words, you know that they're corrupt and they're not aligned to the people that they're supposed to represent. They're aligned to the World Economic Forum. And those 3 words are Build Back Better. Now, Build Back Better was around before the, what are we calling it now? BC, you know, it was 1 BC before COVID. So they were all using that, oh, build back better, build back better. Build back better from what? And then we found out from what. So they decided to destroy the world economy, and then they were going to build it back better. So they had more control with the Green Pass and the, you know, the usual bullshit that they want to enslave humanity through. And it all came from a centralized authority known as the World Economic Forum through the 4th Industrial Revolution, where they're promoting something called transhumanism. Transhumanism. Not to be mistaken with transsexuals, but transhumanism, because that's the first step, because confusion is where the transhumanism lies. To make sure everyone's confused, so they have no idea what's going on. Confusion so that you eventually just go, oh, you know what, I'll just do what I'm told because I want to get on with my life. Okay? Centralization of power is the second enemy. How do we fight against that? Decentralization. Decentralization. Been through that before. Cryptocurrencies, digital assets, those kind of things provide decentralization, and it doesn't have a central power structure. It's peer-to-peer, that kind of thing. If you don't know about that, I'll be doing a live stream sometime in the next few weeks about decentralization and especially cryptocurrencies. But I'll let you know when that's coming up. Right, so centralization of government, second enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. My friend in this particular case is digital assets and blockchain technology. Okay? Third enemy that we all have to face is apathy. Apathy. Look around you. Acceptance and apathy is everywhere. Okay? People just accept that fuel here in the UK is £2 a litre. They just accept it, oh well, it is what it is. Oh well, inflation is up to 25%. Oh well, what can I do? I'm only one little person. Now, I'm going to quote the Dalai Lama here, and when people said, oh, I'm just a little person, who am I? No one's going to listen to me, I have no influence. He said, okay, you think that you have no influence because you're so little? Think of a mosquito at night time when you're trying to sleep. That mosquito is tiny, tiny little thing. Try and sleep with a mosquito in your room. So, yeah, going by that method, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. What is your friend in that situation? Now, I'll come back to what is your friend, because the next thing we're going to touch on is social media. Anti-social media, as I like to call it, because it's not social at all. It's anti-social if it's anything. And it is all controlled and contrived and designed to make you fight with each other. Okay? So, social media, as I've said many, many times in videos before, is there as a feedback loop and mechanism and a control of public consciousness and how we think and what we think, and we're all told that we all think the same way. Oh, everybody believes this because it's all over social media, because those posts are being promoted heavily that go along with the social engineering. So they feed that in through social media with all these fake bot accounts, like especially on Twitter. We'll get to that soon. on Twitter we have a bunch of bot accounts that promote a particular idea that everyone thinks, well, everyone believes in it, so it must be true. I better believe the same thing, because people don't want to step out of the comfort zone of not agreeing with everything else or with everybody else. They don't want to be that lone wolf out there going, hey everybody, wake up, everything's falling apart. I do. I want to be that person because I'm a non-conformist. I don't want to just conform to what everybody else believes. Well, why would you? Why wouldn't you question everything? Why would you just go, oh yeah, I'll blindly accept what you tell me? I don't know you from a bar of soap. Oh, but he's got a white coat on, so he must be a scientist. He's smarter than you, Chris. He's an epidemiologist, God damn it. What do you have? What are you? Who are you? You're just a chef. Just go and cook me another burger. Okay? So social media is your enemy. It's not your friend. It doesn't help you. Here, look at, here's a picture of my kitten. Everybody loves me. Everybody loves me. Look how many likes I got on my picture of my kitten. But you dare to say something about the science is not settled? Oh my God, no one will like you. You see how it works? Now, when I spoke about, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and how do you, social media is also the enemy of your enemy. So if the governments and these social engineers use social media to influence the masses, what you need to do is scream from the rooftops on social media and try and influence others to do the same. Because the more you're quiet and you acquiesce, the more that it carries on. Right, now, I've spoken about this before, where you have a universal contract. Okay, it's a law of the universe that in order to do something to someone, you have to tell them what you're going to do first. And if they don't disagree, if they don't stand up and say no, then it is acquiescence. You agree without even knowing you're agreeing, because you haven't stood up and said no to it. That's the rules. That's the universal rule. They don't. That's the universal rule that we all have to abide by, is if they tell you what they're going to do and you don't say no, or if you just go, oh well, I'll just accept it and not stand up, then it will continue and it will get worse. Okay? So, when you're talking about social credit scores and you're talking about the green pass and the digital ID and all this kind of nonsense, the more you just go, oh well, there's nothing I can do, I'm just too small a person, apathy, the more it will continue and it will get worse. Much, much worse. So I urge you all to raise your voices on social media. Get and call your politicians scumbags. Look, they are monitoring Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media for how the message is being received. So if you're getting on there, I go on Twitter and scream at politicians. You know, I don't scream, obviously, I write rude words. Like I've called Boris Johnson a piece of shit, or nearly every day. Hillary Clinton, all of those people, they're worthless sacks of shit. And I make sure that they know it. So if they're monitoring all the social media for how the message is being received because of how people are responding, oh look, here's a picture of my kitten. Oh, I'm so popular, I've got a picture of my kitten, everybody likes me. You know, it's wonderful to be loved by everybody, as long as you're not disagreeing with them. Because nobody wants to be on the fringe. Everybody wants to be in the group. Everybody wants to be accepted. Except Chris. Chris doesn't give a fuck. That's who I am. That's who I am. And you know, like all the wonderful people here that are joining me, then I can't thank you enough for joining me. I really can't. It's amazing. But apathy is our biggest. I can't stand seeing people just going, oh well, inflation's at 25%, I just have to accept it because who am I? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So use the tools that you have to raise your voice against what is going on. Share things that you're outraged by, because this is the kind of thing that is going to change things. The social engineers are watching us all. And they're going, oh well, no one disagrees. We're just going to go ahead with our LGBTQ+. What does the plus stand for? Bestiality and paedophilia. Normalizing paedophilia. You agree with that? Now the gay and lesbian community, I've got some wonderful people that I know, some good friends of mine that are in the gay and lesbian community, are morally outraged by what's going on with all the rights that they fought for over the years for marriage and all these kind of things. All the rights that they fought for are now being taken over, and the whole movement is being taken over by groomers and paedophiles. Because, you know, if you dare to say anything against these people that are grooming children, oh, you're against the whole LGBTQ plus community. And that's plainly wrong. I'm not against drag queens, but I'm against drag queens reading stories to children, having them sit on their lap. Sorry, not going for it. I'm not against the lesbian and gay community at all. But they're being used as a shield to shield themselves using the lesbian and gay community. And as long as the lesbian and gay community don't stand up and say, hold on a fucking minute, not in my name, it's going to continue. So what are you going to do? Now there's lots of things going on at the moment, you know, war and famine and, you know, the lack of oil and the resources and blah, 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 blah. It's fear. Every moment of every hour of every day, every story you read, the new ninja variant. Oh my God, we're all going to die from the ninja variant now. Oh my God, it's painful that people are still believing this shit. It's painful that people are still buying into it and going, oh, I better go and get stuck again. Going along with something that harms you, what are you proving? What are you trying to prove? Now, I want to make a big deal about this because I just found a perfect rock for skimming. I'll save that for later. Now, I want to bring up that there's some of the bravest and strongest, wonderful people in the world that are standing up and saying, no, we're not having it. The farmers of the world are finally standing their ground and saying, we're not going to be dictated to by a government, by a centralised authority, especially in Europe. The EU that I've spoken about before, is now dictating to countries how much nitrogen they can use, how many cattle they can raise, all based on methane because it's all damaging the environment, of course. So the farmers in the Netherlands have stood up and are fighting back. You know, the last I heard there was 30,000 farmers that converged on the centre of the country. And I know that a lot of my subscribers are over in the Netherlands, and you are wonderful. All of you that are standing up and raising your voices and just standing for your own sovereignty and saying, no, we won't go along with this lunacy. And Mark Rutte, the President or the Prime Minister, I'm not sure which it is, I do apologise everyone, over in the Netherlands, you people need to raise your voice until that man is gone. Macron in France, that other witch over in Germany, what's her name? Hitler's daughter, whatever it is, she needs to go as well. The scumbag in Italy, definitely a scumbag, you know. Wonderful people are raising their voices and saying, no more. We're not going to be dictated to. We're not going to be indoctrinated. We're not going to be lectured by you scumbags anymore. And those are the people that should inspire you. Those are the stories you should be sharing with everyone. Those are the things that you need to inspire you to action. Because your lack of inaction, your inaction, your apathy, that go, oh, look, here's a picture of my kitten. And I'm popular. There's a picture of my kitten. And a puppy too. Oh, a puppy and a kitten. Aren't I popular? What are you sharing? What are you doing? While the world crumbles. Oh, look, I've got another kitten. We need to all stand. We need to raise our voices. We need to stand in our sovereignty. We need to take a leaf out of the Canadian truckers' books. We need to take a leaf out of the Netherlands farmers' books. We need to take a leaf out of the German farmers, the Polish farmers, the Italian farmers, the Spanish farmers, the people across the world that are standing up for all of you that are sitting at home doing nothing except posting pictures of your kitten. You know, they're the people that should be celebrated, not mocked and ridiculed and you know, lambasted, but they're the people that should be held up as the heroes of everything that's going on. But the way that the news is portraying all this, the news, that's the other enemy. Don't watch it. Don't listen to it. It's nonsense. It is there to frighten you, to keep you living in fear. Don't listen to it. It is all lies. Fake news. It's the enemy of the people. Now, This message goes out to everybody. It's of course your decision to say what you want to say, to do what you want to do, to be who you want to be. But if you're not standing against tyranny, against people that want to enslave you further, against people that want to tell you how to live while they do exactly the opposite, then what are you doing? Where do you think you're going to go, and how do you think your children are going to live in this world? It's decision time, folks. If you don't stand now, you'll be enslaved for the rest of your miserable existence, and your children and your children's children will equally be enslaved. Stand, raise your voice. I'm not talking about going to protest, I'm talking about using social media against them. Raise your voice, share articles that say, no, I'm not doing it, and I'm not going along with your agenda. I don't agree with the bullshit you're trying to force down my throat. We all need to do it. It's up to you. I leave it to you. As always, the decision is always yours. So, I hope you enjoyed what I did today. Thank you for joining me. I can't thank you enough. Beautiful location, don't you agree? Absolutely stunning today. So I'll sign off by saying thank you very much for joining me. I love you all. Thank you very much for being here. Stand up, raise your voice. Go out into the world, do good and be good. You can change the world with your thoughts, your actions, and the way you speak and interact with each other. And of course, the way you use social media. So, do good, be good, go out there, love on each other, and let's lift everybody up, especially the people that are fighting the fight against tyranny and against the radical governments that are trying to tear us all down. All right, thank you so much, folks. Love you all. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.